Thank you for being here. It's good to see you. Dr. McClure usually is here for the lunch and learns. She took a little tumble down her stairs yesterday with a sprained ankle, and so her mobility is not optimum at this point. So I think I've seen all of you, and I'm Dean Mark, the Director of School Support. You know Jackie Hart as well, who's trying to solve some technology challenges for us today. But we're glad to have you here for this lunch and learn. This is an important topic, dialectical behavior therapy, very much in use, and a very evidence-based therapy. And I'm so glad to introduce our speaker, Chris Lopez, who's a clinical therapist at Chestnut Ridge here in Morgantown. And I'm so pleased to share that Chris is a 2013 MSW grad of the School of Social Work. So we're delighted to bring one of our own back home to share with current students. So without further ado, let me turn it over to Chris for his presentation.
I'm Chris, I'm a therapist at Chestnut Ridge, and I'm also a certified dialectical behavior therapist. So, is anybody in here familiar with or has heard of DBT? I see a head nod. So, but for the most part, this is kind of new for everybody, right? All right, well, straddle in and get ready for your mind. Okay? Pretty great stuff. With borderline personality disorder, choose to do it in an unskillful way. They don't have the skill to do it in a skillful way. Okay? Another thing I want to say, and you're going to hear this a lot during this presentation: skillful versus unskillful. Okay? I break down all behaviors into two categories: skillful or unskillful. I tend to stay away from positive, negative, good, bad. Everything is either skillful or unskillful. Okay? So, just want to do that hands up. So, DBT is based on behavioral science as well as incorporating Zen practice into it, okay? Which means we're going to focus a lot on mindfulness. That is a core of DBT treatment, okay? So, a way of thinking about this is it is a modified cognitive behavioral therapy approach that incorporates validation and acceptance. We're going to talk more about that. So, the main goals of DBT are to teach our clients to cope with stress, learn how to regulate their emotions, and improve their relationships with others in their life. Okay? And so DBT is derived from a philosophical process called dialectics. So, dialectics. So the word dialectics, I'm going to give you an easy way to think of it. Okay? The word is synthesis. That's the key word, synthesis. Okay? So looking at two opposing viewpoints, and we're trying to come around. Okay? So, those that are diagnosed with borderline personality disorder tend to engage in something that we call black or white thinking. All or nothing thinking is another way of saying it. Okay? So, in DBT, we like to say, well, the world isn't in shades of black and white. It's actually in shades of plaid. Different colors, different textures that maybe don't necessarily go together, but it kind of works. Okay? So, what we like to say is, no position is absolute. There is no absolute truth in dialectics. Everything is context-bound. Okay? There's always an ounce of truth, even if it's just a kernel at times. Okay? So, a really great way I like to think about this is the story of the three blind men and the elephant. All right? So, these three blind men are in the middle of a village square, and there's this huge elephant, and each of the elephant. One's touching the trunk, one's touching the leg, and one's touching the stomach. So the one touching the stomach goes, well, an elephant is like a brick wall. And they start arguing. The other blind man goes, no, an elephant holding onto the trunk is like a tree trunk. It's big and round. And another man goes, no, that's incorrect. An elephant is like a snake. It's like, because it's wiry and, snake-like. And then all of a sudden the wise man comes out because there was a wise man in the village. And he says, well, you know what? You're all correct. Those are all parts of the elephant, and none of you are wrong. You're all correct. So that's our dialectical philosophy. There's always some truth to be found within what's going on. Dialectics highlights what's missing. Okay? Okay, you've got this, but what's missing? And We also respect subjective truth as well. Our most fundamental dialectic, this is a thing that we consistently come back to in our treatment. It is the balance between acceptance and change. So a really great way of thinking about that is I can't change anything unless I have accepted it first. Okay? We're always going to come back to that. So, some core assumptions. So these are assumptions that we have whenever we meet a client who's coming into dialectical behavior therapy treatment. The first one, no matter what, clients are doing their best in any given moment, and they need to do better. Okay? You see how it's both at the same time? You're doing the best you can right now with what you've been given, and you can do better. Okay? Clients want to, but they need the skills to improve. Okay? Clients, this is my personal favorite. Okay? Clients may not have caused all their problems. Let's face it, life happens, and sometimes you get dealt a really crappy hand. But it is your responsibility to solve them anyway. Okay? I think we all can agree on this. The lives of our suicidal and substance abusing clients are unbearable as they are currently being lived. Okay? Good news. Clients can't fail in DBT. A client cannot fail in DBT. But DBT can fail them, and we can fail as clinicians providing DBT treatment to them. Okay? And the last one, skills need to be generalized to all relevant areas of life. And what we mean by that is the skills that you learn in group and that you learn in individual, well, you need to use those outside of the office. Okay? It doesn't just stop in the therapy office. You got to use them in everyday life. All right, so the biosocial model in DBT. So our clients suffer from emotional sensitivity. So a really great way of thinking about that is our patients have a third-degree burn to their emotional skin. Everything they feel is excruciating. Okay? Emotional reactivity, meaning they go from 0 to 100 like that. Slow return to emotional baseline. Okay? Something happens, it could take a patient a week or even more to come back to their normal baseline. Okay? I had a patient who, we describe all these things that she had. She went to go do the dishes. Okay? She left some soap on the dish. Immediately, she was suicidal. Wanted to kill herself for making a mistake. Okay? It took her a week and a half to recover from those soapy dishes. Okay? So, the emotional vulnerabilities come from many factors, but we assume them to be biological. Okay? Chronic and consistent invalidation exacerbates emotional vulnerabilities. And we're going to talk about validation here in a little bit. But this is a common thread in all the patients we see dealing with consistent and chronic invalidation growing up. Okay? Over time, emotions get sensitized, leading to the kindling effect. So what we mean by that is, I want you to think of you're going camping, okay? And there's a fire, and you put the fire out, okay? Now, you haven't done a good job of putting that fire out, and there's a little bit of burning underneath. So all it takes is one leaf to get over that, and that fire sparks up again, right? That's what our clients' emotions are like. It just needs one little thing to spark that emotional fire together. And this emotionality, constantly being, triggered, if you will, essentially, leads to escape and avoidance behaviors, which leads to chronicity. Okay? So like I said, we were going to talk about validation. Who in here, by not reading this, knows what validation is? You're not going to be wrong.
Just like, affirming. And they're just like they're not making stuff up or crazy. It's just, knowledge.
Okay. Jessica. So Jessica, what I'm hearing you say is validation is kind of affirming what the other person is trying to tell you, right? Yeah? Is that what it is? Do you know what I said there? Validator, right? Okay. That's what validation is. It's acknowledging what the other person is saying. You're not necessarily in agreement with it, right? But you're just saying, well, from your perspective, That makes sense, right? Given your history, given your past, that makes sense, right? Just acknowledging what the other person is saying so that they feel like they're being heard, right? That somebody else has heard them. These patients have gone their entire life feeling like nobody's listened to me. Nobody's heard things that I've said. So it's our job to let them know, well, I hear you, okay? I understand you. Validation creates the conditions of acceptance, allowing them to accept those parts that they need to change, which then needs to change, okay? So here's a way of thinking about validation, acceptance, and change. Okay, so let's say you have a screw and you want to undo the screw. Okay, so you come in there with WD-40 to loosen the screw, right? Okay. Now, as soon as you spray that WD-40, do you go in with the wrench and turn it? No. You wait for the WD-40 to set in, right? That's going to be easier to loosen, right? That's acceptance and change. Okay? You don't just automatically come in there with change. Because that's invalidating, right? That says to your patient, oh, let me take care of it. You can't handle it, right? No. We want them to be able to handle it, right? Remember, it's your job to solve your problems, right? Not mine. So we wait a little bit. We let that acceptance kind of soak in a little bit, validate them a little bit, then we get ready for that change. All right? As I said here, as a rule, start with validating the client, return to validation when the client is stuck. Okay? That was a validation. All right. So the first one, just be waiting. Put yourself on it. I'm not telling you. Be awake. Be attentive. Okay? The next one, reflecting verbal communication. Oh, so what I'm hearing you say is yeah, right? Letting them know that you hear them. Describe nonverbal cues. Fidgeting around in your seat. What's going on there? Expressing how experience makes sense given their history. Hey, your past, yeah, that makes sense, right? I can't tell you how many patients come to me and say, like, well, this is stupid that I feel this way, but just let them know that's not stupid. Again, given what you've been through, that makes total sense, right? It's kind of normalizing things. Expressing how experience makes sense, giving the present moment in context. Again, yeah, given your past history, it makes sense that you can do this now. And then the last one, being in genuine human contact. Again, I don't know about you all, but I don't want to talk to a robot. Okay? I don't want to talk to somebody who's just like staring at me. No, have a conversation. Okay. The thing is, with DBT, we're not necessarily client to therapist. We're peer-to-peer. We're having a peer-to-peer conversation. And so what I mean by that is, if a patient comes to me and says, like, oh, I'm in this situation and it sucks, and if I genuinely think it sucks, I'm going to be like, wow, I appreciate it. I have to deal with that. That sucks. Right? Just have a genuine conversation. Bad assumptions, not treated, so this is always what we're trying to do in DBT. The first one, structure. You want to make sure that the environment is as structured as it can be. Setting. I'm going to say it. Boundaries. Setting boundaries with our patients. Okay, this is huge. Setting boundaries. These are the limits. This is what I can do for you. This is what I want. And let me just put it to you this way. If you work with somebody that has borderline personality disorder, I'm just telling you straight out, they will test your limits. They will test your boundaries, and they will try to test you to see if you will stick to those boundaries. Okay. A really good example of this is myself and I have a co-facilitator. Her name is Caitlin. We run the DBT program at Chestnut Ridge. So every Monday and Friday we do DBT group. And so I love boundaries. I think they're amazing. They're great. So I'm very firm and I'm very strict. And I have 2 sheets full of rules of things that you can do and things that you can't do. And that you have to respect those. And then if not, you get kicked out of the group. And so one of the things is we do this thing called a diary card, and I'm going to talk about that. And they love to come in and say, "I'm going to do my diary card. Do my diary card," thinking that I'm going to let them go with it. And I go, "Okay, and do your diary card right now." And they do it every single week to see if I'm consistent with it. And that's the key. You have to be consistent. Do what you say and say what you do. Okay? Enhancing the skills of clients, and this is where our skills training group comes in. So the skills training group is not a process, meaning we don't sit around and like, how's your baby? No, we're sitting down and we're talking about skills. These are the skills that you need to use. This is the practice. This is what you need to do. Okay? Generalizing skills to clients' environment. So, this is called phone coaching. What I mean by that is my patients can call me at any time. Okay, so for some people that might freak them out. But the thing is, we go back to boundaries, right? I have a set schedule, and I tell them, this is the schedule. You can call me within this time. Feel free to call me. The thing is, though, there's some rules with that. I may not get back to you immediately. You gotta give me 24 hours to respond to you. On the weekends, I'm just gonna be straight up with you. I'm not gonna take your phone call on the weekends because I like my weekends, okay? And when you set out those boundaries and you give like a framework for them to work in, they respect it. Generally. So far. Improving, maintaining client motivation. This is our individual setup. Okay, DBT is hard work. I like to say this is not a therapy. This is a lifestyle change. We're asking you to do something completely different. Forget everything you know and drink our Kool-Aid and go from there. Okay? So that's difficult. So we have to continually motivate our clients to want to do better, to want to change. Okay? And then the last one is enhancing skills and improving motivation of therapists. So what we do is we have a consultation meeting every week or every other week. And essentially, this boils down to, again, this is hard work for the client, but this is hard work for the clinician as well. Again, we deal with people that try to test us on a daily basis that can be difficult. I'm just going to say they can be difficult at times. So we need to kind of keep our boats tethered together. We need to make sure we're on the same page and we're all working together. Sometimes, to be honest, these patients like to get involved in something that's called staff splitting. Okay, that's where they go to one staff member. They don't like what that person says, so they go to another staff member. Okay, well, the consultation is to avoid that, so that we're all speaking the same common language. And also, too, this is something you can tell your folks wherever you end up working. Staff splitting is not a patient issue. Staff splitting is a staffing issue. That means everybody's not on the same boat. We need everybody on the same boat. Okay. 4 components of DBT. That is individual sessions, right? And this is where the diary card comes into play. So, the diary card. The diary is where you keep track of everything like right? So what we do in DBT is we break that down into a sheet of paper where our patients keep track of their mood, their anxiety, their depression, their suicide thoughts, their self-interest behavior, their energy level, their exercise. And that makes my job super easy. Okay, and what I mean by that is, in individual sessions, you come in and you give me that sheet of paper, I already know what we need to talk about. Okay, if you've gone the whole week, then let's say on Wednesday you have suicidal thoughts. Well, let's talk about those suicidal thoughts. Makes my job super easy. But also, too, it's really great for the client to keep track of their moods, right? Science has shown that if you keep track of something over time, it will improve. Okay, and so that's why we do it. But also, too, another reason we do it is our patients have this tendency to be like, oh, I don't know, I just got sad out of nowhere, or I just got suicidal out of nowhere. Guess what? That doesn't happen. It doesn't just like bloom out of nowhere. No, there's usually something that happened before that. Okay, so that's where the diary card comes into play. They can keep track of that. They can see what happened. Okay, it doesn't just happen. Maybe, oh yeah, I had a really bad conversation with my mom and I got suicidal. Okay, it just happened. There's something that came before that. Skills training group, which again, like I said, is where we just sit down and talk about the skills. We're going to get into a little bit. Phone coaching, patients can call me. And phone coaching is for, if you're out in the real world, they had a conversation with somebody, it didn't turn out well. They try to use one of the skills. Skill didn't really work for them. They give me a phone call. Hey, I tried to use this skill. Didn't really work out for me. What should I do next? Okay. Phone coaching, 3 to 5 minutes is the phone call. The max is 5 minutes. It is not therapy in between therapy. Okay, it's just you use this skill, all right, it didn't work for you, what other skill can you use? Now, there's a couple more additional rules. What I mean by that is, so my patients, and this is the dialectical principle, patient cannot call you 24 hours after engaging in an unskillful behavior. Meaning, your patient has just self-injured, and they give you a call. You say, sorry, you engaged in an unskillful behavior, I can't talk to you for 24 hours. And you hang up. Now, I know that sounds harsh. Okay, I know that sounds harsh. But why do you think we do that?
To give them time to reflect on why they did it before they talk to you.
Okay, time to reflect on it. Sure. Okay.
Because if you stop really rewarding the behavior,
Rewarding the negative behavior, yes, absolutely. But another simple thing I want you to consider. If you've already engaged in the unskillful behavior, I can't do anything about it, right? You've already done it. So what help am I going to be? You've already done it. So call me back later, once it's been 24 hours, right? The whole goal of phone coaching is to stop that behavior before it happens. Right? If you've already done it, I'm not going to be any help. Okay? So that's why we do it. Okay? Now, again, we always tend to focus on the negative. But phone coaching can also be for a patient to call me up and say, like, hey, I used this skill and it worked out really well. Thanks. That's it. That's phone coaching. Okay? And then the last one, consultation team, as I said, we want to keep all the boats ever together and make sure everybody's on the same page. All right. So the modules. These are the 4 modules or the 4 groups of skills that we go over in TBT. They are core mindfulness, distress tolerance, emotion regulation, and interpersonal. Now, there is no magic way to teach the modules. Okay? All modules lead to mindfulness, and mindfulness is needed for all the modules. But I will say this. Typically, the patients that we're seeing who use DBT have a crisis orientation to life, meaning everything is a crisis. Everything, like I said, the girl did the dishes and she became suicidal. Everything is a crisis. And typically, I start with distress tolerance, but it really doesn't matter. Okay? There's no magic way to do it. So we'll start with mindfulness. Who here has ever heard of mindfulness? Yeah. So, mindfulness is a huge part of DBT. And let me say this, mindfulness is not cooking. I think when we talk about mindfulness, it conjures up monks in white robes and humming and that's not. Mindfulness is essentially paying attention to the present moment on purpose and without judgment. Taking in the raw experience of what is going on. Learning to be in control of your mind instead of having your mind be in control of you. Okay? I can't tell you how many times I hear my patients say, well, mindful, I can't be mindful. I can't make my mind a complete blank. I think of 20,000 things at one time. Okay, mindfulness isn't making your mind a complete blank. It's being attentive to that. Wow, I have 20,000 things running through my mind right now. I can't focus on one thing. That's being mindful. Paying attention to the moment and what's going on. Okay? Living in the present, not ruminating about the past or worrying about the future. Mindfulness can help reduce suffering. Okay? Let me explain that. What I mean by that is, if I pay attention to this present moment, so let's say I'm in this present moment, and this present moment is already painful, and I think about everything I've done in the past and everything that I have to do in the future, I've compounded my suffering. I've added everything that happened bad in the past and everything that I have to do in the future. But if I stay mindful to this present moment, I only have to endure this painful moment, not additional pain. So one of the things we talk about, one of the main things we talk about is accessing or activating your wise mind. Okay? To do that, we have to incorporate the 2 other states of mind. So they are logical mind, which is sometimes called rational mind, and emotion mind. Okay? So a great way of thinking of emotion mind is the Incredible Hulk. My old man scientist, he gets upset because he's too big big monster. This is where raw emotion takes over. You're not thinking, you're just doing. The first thing that pops into your head, you go with it. Okay? So think about it. You get angry at somebody, so you send a nasty email or a nasty text message. That's emotion mind. Okay? And I want to say, just being an emotion mind isn't always a bad thing. It just is. Not good or bad, it just is. Emotion mind, let's think about it. Without emotion mind, we wouldn't have songs. We wouldn't have stories, right? We wouldn't have movies, okay? So I like to think of emotion mind. Think of that as our artists, our musicians, okay? Logical mind or rational mind. Really good way to think about this is a robot, okay? Very matter of fact, very cause and effect, right? Very cold. Have you ever talked to somebody like the lights are on, but no one's home? It's just very flat, right? That's logic mind. Okay? Again, not always a bad thing, right? Without logic mind, you wouldn't have city planning. You wouldn't have buildings, okay? These only become quote unquote bad things when they are dysregulated, okay? So dysregulated. What that means in DBT is not proportionate to the event or situation, okay? I will give you an example. Dysregulated emotion mind. You're walking down the hallway, someone steps on your shoe, scuffs it up, you fly off the handle. You start threatening them that you're going to kill them, that you're going to attack them. I'd say that's pretty dysregulated, right? Kind of blown out of proportion. That's what dysregulated is. So back to logical mind, I like to think of this as our city planners, our accountants, okay? Now, when logical mind and wise mind when logical mind and emotion mind come together, that's where we have wise mind. Okay? Gut feeling, right? This is our gut feeling. That part of us that makes really smart, really adult decisions, okay? So emotion mind is our artists, okay, our musicians. Logical mind is our accountants, our engineers. What profession do you think wise mind is? This is a profession that takes everything into account that's going on in your life, right? And tries to weigh out the best option and the best course of action to take. What? Yeah, you got it. Wise mind is the social workers. Yes. Typically, I would say therapist. But, you know, social workers, forget. Okay? Here's the deal. Everybody has a wise mind. Okay? Everybody's got one. Okay? Except it's like a liver. Meaning you don't really feel it working, but it's there, doing its job. Okay? That's wise. All right. Moving on, and I'm just going to do a couple skills from each one because there's a whole lot. There's a whole much more to mindfulness than that. Stress tolerance. All right, this is what I ask everybody. Why do you think the set of skills is called distress tolerance and not distress elimination? Bingo, distress never goes away. Distress or stress is a part of life. So we need to learn how to tolerate it. Okay, learn how to get through it. And that's what these skills are for, to get through it. Okay? So effective distress tolerance leads to less emotion-based coping. Okay? So self-interest behavior, substance use, that's emotion-based coping, which means it works in the short term, but in the long term, it's not going to be useful. Okay? Fewer impulsive behaviors, decreased self-interest behavior, decreased suicidal urges, and a decreased crisis orientation to life. We said. So the first one is distract with accepts. So in DBT, a lot of the skills are acronyms. Okay, so if you see an acronym in a therapeutic setting, 9 times out of 10 is DBT. Okay? So each letter represents something that our clients can use in the moment to distract themselves. Okay? So I have this rule, and the rule is the hot mess rule. And what that is if you're in a hot mess, you don't want to be in a hotter mess, meaning you don't want more things that you have to deal with, okay? You want less things you have to deal with. So that's where this comes into play. These are healthy distraction tools that you can utilize in the moment, distract yourself from really intense emotions so you're better able to cope, better able to handle what's going on, okay? The first one is activities, distract yourself from activity, positive hobby that you enjoy. The second one is contributing, giving back to another person or organization. The third is comparisons, looking at yourself and comparing yourself to a person in a similar situation as yourself. Think NA and NA. Emotions, doing the opposite of what your emotion is telling you to do. And I'll go more into depth about that one. Pushing away, healthy compartmentalizing. Pushing it to the side and dealing with other things. Thoughts, thinking about something mindfully. Our mind is amazing tool. We can think about a million things at once, and it can only think about one thing mindfully at a time. Sensations, using and activating your 5 senses. Whether this is watching a movie, smelling essential oils, eating something you like. Next one is improve the moment. So, whereas accepts was to distract ourselves, improve the moment is to make the moment a little bit more palatable, a little bit more easy easier to digest. Okay, so each one of these skills is going to help us get through the moment and make it a little bit easier for us. Okay? So the first one is imagery. Go to your happy place. Whatever that is in your head. The M is meeting. All right. Make lemonade out of lemons. Work for Beyonce. Work for you. Right? Every cloud has a silver lining type thing. Okay. Prayer. All right. Let me say something about prayer. Okay. Sometimes people get off hook by this. Now, prayer does not have to be in a religious sense or saying a personal scripture. If that works for you, that works for your client, hey, go for it, use it. A lot of my patients are off put by that, and they don't really ascribe to any sort of like higher power. So what I say is, what's a personal mantra? What's something you can tell yourself in the moment to get you through? And my example is finding Nemo. Just keep living, right? Personal mantra to get you through the moment. Sometimes it's even going to a place of prayer or worship. And again, that can be church, any sort of temple. It could even be going to a yoga studio and doing yoga. Okay, whatever it is. The R is relaxation. And so this means getting back control of your body. So in a crisis or a distressing event, our breathing increases, we can get hot, right? So try to take back control of your body through paired breathing or guided imagery. One thing or step at a time. So life is kind of funny in the fact that it never throws one problem at us at a time. It usually throws a million at us at a time. Okay, and that can be very overwhelming. So one thing or step at a time means break it down into smaller, more easy to achieve steps. Okay. Vacation. This does not mean getting on a cruise ship and going to the Bahamas, although wouldn't that be lovely? Vacation means actually physically removing yourself from the situation. So like imagery was going to a place in your head. Vacation, physically removing yourself from the situation or the event until you're better able to cope. Sometimes just removing yourself from the situation and giving a change of scenery can be really helpful to bring you down. Okay. And the E is encouragement. We're all talking to ourselves in our heads, so you might as well say something positive, good about yourself. Emotion regulation. Okay. So as we've said, the patients that we work with this have a hard time regulating their emotions. Typically, they go from 0 to 100, snap of the finger. As I said, everything they feel is excruciating because they have a burn to their emotional skin, 3rd-degree burn to their emotional skin. So effective emotion regulation leads to a greater understanding of how emotions work, which we all need, decreased emotional vulnerability, which means being less susceptible to your emotions. More balanced emotions, more skillful behaviors, there's that word, and less ineffective mood-congruent behaviors. And so I'll talk about mood-congruent behaviors in this next slide. So we like to think that emotions are these really complex creatures that, oh my gosh, I don't really know where this came from, it just happened. They're very rudimentary in the fact you break them down like this. Every time you feel something, it causes you to do something. So if I feel sad, I isolate. Okay? If I feel anxiety about something, I avoid it. I don't do it. Okay? Now the thing is, the actions that our emotions cause us to do are to keep them around longer because they are completely self-absorbed. Okay, so think about it. If I'm afraid or I have anxiety about going to Walmart and I avoid going to Walmart, what does that do to my anxiety about Walmart? It gets worse, right? It gets bigger. So that's what our emotions cause us to do. So that is where opposite to emotion, or as its other name is, opposite action come into play. All right? So to throw a kink in this never-ending circle of emotion and action, we need to do the opposite of what our emotion is telling us to do. All right? So if I feel sad and I want to isolate, it's go out, get active. I just had group stay and my patient said, well, I was feeling really bad and I didn't want to do anything. I was going to stay in the house, but instead I called up a friend and I went out for a walk. That is a perfect example of the opposite action. Her emotion was telling her to stay inside and isolate, but instead she called up a friend and she went out for a walk. Okay? And like I said, your examples include approaching when anxious, being kind when angry. That's a tough one. Because a lot of the I think, personally, I think anger gets a bad rap. And I think that people are like, oh, well, I don't want to get angry. I don't want people to see me get angry. But here's the thing. Anger is not always bad, specifically when it's regulated, right? When it's regulated, anger's good. It's motivating. It gets us up. It gets us moving. It's only when that anger is dysregulated. You get angry, you feel like attacking somebody, or you feel like hurting yourself, right? So part of being angry, opposite action to angry, is gently avoid if you can. So if it's a person, if I'm at a party, this person at the party said horrible things about me, all of which is completely untrue, I'm going to gently avoid wherever that person's at, right? But also, too, here's the deal with opposite action. If you're going to do it, you have to do it all the way. Meaning, if I'm going to gently avoid this person physically, I also have to gently avoid them in my thoughts and try to be a little bit kind, okay? Any questions about opposite action? This is my favorite one. This is my go-to with my patients, right? I always say opposite action, opposite action, opposite action. And it's the one that they use the most. I think that's easiest to remember. Interpersonal effectiveness. So a lot of our patients that experience or are diagnosed with borderline personality disorders have very chaotic relationships. Okay? And we go back to this all or nothing type thinking or this black or white thinking. I've had patients meet somebody off the internet and move in with them the next week. Never knew them before. All of a sudden they meet, oh my God, I'm in love with them, we're going to get married, and they move in the next week. And as a clinician, I can just sit there and go, hey, and in my head I'm like, oh God, what are you doing? But we have to solve it on our own sometimes. So effective interpersonal skills lead to increased ability to get our wants and needs met. Get our wants and needs met skillfully, not throwing a tantrum, not yelling at somebody, not threatening somebody. Increased ability to set effective boundaries and limits. Increased ability to say no. That's a huge one. Increased ability to maintain positive relationships. And building self-respect. So this is my favorite. This is my favorite skill. It's called Dear Man. And so, whereas the other skills, you can kind of pick and choose what you want to use, this is kind of like a blueprint on how to have a conversation with somebody, right? So each letter is how you have this conversation with the person in your life. And this is so you can ask for what you want or set up boundaries with somebody. So the first one is describe, and this is where you describe exactly what is going on. You stick to just the facts, okay? The E is express, and this is where you put your feelings into it. A really great way of this, thinking about this as I statements. I feel blank when you blank. Okay? Assert, say exactly what you want from the person. Exactly what you want. A lot of the time, when we have conversations, we beat around the bush, right? Or we get into this like, well, they should know what I'm asking for, right? No, not a mind field. And if they are, send them my way. I want to talk to them, okay? The R is reinforce. Okay, so if you're going to ask for something from somebody or ask them to do something, you need to give them a reason to comply with it. Okay, so like if you do the dishes, I'm going to be easier to live with because I'm not going to yell at you as much. Who wouldn't want that, right? But the thing is, if you're going to give a reinforcement, it has to be something that you can follow up. Meaning, if you do the dishes, I'm going to be easier to live with and I'm not going to yell at you as much. And then they do the dishes, but you still end up yelling at them, that's not effective, right? And then they're going to be like, oh, you're full of crap. You can follow up with what you said you're going to do. Mindful, we should always be mindful, right? But the way I like to think about this is sometimes when we're talking to people, in particular, when we maybe bring up something that they've done wrong, like, hey, remember when you didn't do the dishes last week? They have this tendency of fault finding and being like, oh yeah, we didn't do the dishes the week before that, and then you didn't take the trash out. And then it ends up devolving, and you end up an hour later, why didn't you start this conversation? So mindful means stay in this conversation right here. Be a broken record. Keep repeating what you want to talk about, okay? Maybe the other person doesn't want to talk about it right now, letting them know, hey, that's all right, let's take a break from this. We'll come back to you in 15 minutes. Always give a time limit. Okay? Particularly when you are working with those that have borderline personality disorder, always give a time limit. One of the main staples of borderline personality disorder is fear of abandonment. Okay? So if you say, we'll come back to this, if you don't give a time limit, oh my God, they left me. They're never coming back, right? Gotta give a time limit. Appear confident. So for our patients, a lot of them never really had to ask for what they want, or when they have asked for what they want, it's blown up in their face. So they're not going to be really confident in asking for what they want. Guess what? They don't have to be. They just have to get off the appearance that they want. Okay, so what I would like to say is, do your best Meryl Streep. Okay, do your best performance. Just give off that impression that you know what you're talking about and what you want. I always tell people, channel somebody. Think of a person that is confident. What would they say? What would they do? How would they look? Try to conjure that image up in your mind. Just act like that. And the end is negotiate. So, and everything all said and done, we want this conversation to be a win-win. We want both parties to feel like they were heard, okay? They didn't have to yell, they didn't have to threaten, okay? Table turn, ask the other person, hey, it seems like we can't come to a resolution. Do you have any ideas of what we should do? And my thing is too, if you can get a trusted third party involved, someone who doesn't have any stakes in it and can give you the best, best non partisan, their opinion, whatnot, get them involved if you can. Sometimes it's okay to get a third party involved. Okay? Dear Man is really effective. Okay? I used to work on the inpatient unit at Chestnut Ridge, and this was our main mode of communication. Okay? So if a patient had an issue with a clinician or with a staff member, we would say, hey, dear man. We would give them a worksheet and they would dear man the person. Okay? I've been dear man. It is a really great way to avoid hurt feelings and really feel like you're getting out what you need to get. Okay? Any questions? Yes. So you bring up a really good point. So, like I said, it was created for those with the diagnosis of borderline personality disorder, but over time, we have found that it works with a whole spectrum of disorders. So depression, anxiety, substance abuse, there's a whole DBT, DBTS, and it is devoted to just substance abuse. They even created one for lower functioning folks. But some of this stuff is like, I'm hoping, paying attention to the present moment. That can be harder for some folks. So they've created one for lower functioning folks. Eating disorders, I will say this, it's not, and there's been research done, it does not work with anorexia, but binge eating, great, bulimia, I use it with all my patients that have bulimia. Like I said, I've drank the Kool-Aid, and like I'm all about this, so I use it with all my patients. Now, there are going to be some patients, because I've had people with anorexia come into my office. Of course, I'm not going to use it with them. And there's some people, they don't want to make the commitment to this, because this is really hard work. And so we'll try a different therapy, right? And that's the thing. You got to do what works for your patients. Some of them may not be DBT. Yeah, I was going to say something else, but I can't remember what I was going to say. Maybe it'll come to me. Any other questions? Oh, I remember. So there are some DBT purists, okay, that say, well, if you're not doing the 4 components of DBT, you're not having individual sessions, a diary card, you're not doing thumb coaching, you're not doing skills training, you're not doing consultation, you're not doing DBT, which is not okay. Marshall Linehan, who created it, is all about it here. It's all about it here. Okay? I received my certification from another provider, and his name is Lane Peterson. Okay? And his is pick and choose. Do what works for you, do what works for your environment, do what works for your patients. And in fact, you guys didn't hear this from me, But he did research into which one actually works. Is it adherent or is it modified? Guess what? They have the same outcomes. One was not better than the other. So, you didn't hear it from me. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you, Chris.
No
It's
problem.
very helpful. And by the way, when you all have the advanced practice for individuals class, DB2 is one of the therapies that we focus more in depth in. So this will be a really good thing. Thank you all very much.
And if you